this is the other part. We know how strong the Storm Spirit is, but you still do want to protect that matchup in the lane as best as you can.
Yeah, and well, now it's up to DogChamp. They should just ban offlaners all the way through here until they really want to secure their carry matchup. But I think the safer bet probably should see the DK ban, probably should see the Timbersaw ban, and then we're feeling pretty good for DogChamp. Those are really the heroes that we should kind of work as you already have your offlaner in your own draft. CK ban, okay. That's the hero that we haven't seen too much from in our series today for, I think, a pretty good reason. Not having the additional damage on the Chaos Strike when it comes to dealing with things like Roshan or summoned units is certainly a little bit of a tick. Otherwise, the hero's still pretty great, but it's just where, like we heard from Mariano earlier, it doesn't fit quite as easily into certain lineups. And it's where I think when a lot of these heroes are as strong as they are, the freeness of a hero is certainly a factor. If you are one or two items behind, if your Echo Saber Ag Shard is not nearly as strong as it was in the previous patch, then we see you shoved to the side a little bit. But that's where the Temper Sub comes through, and everything makes sense.
Yeah, just can't really let that Timber through. They be very much aware of the threat that it posed. So they ban it away. Meanwhile, for Hokori, so far, 2 for 2 on the mid bans. Invoker and Ember Spirit both taken out. At this point, really, they could just make it that full trifecta, go for another mid ban. That's not quite a mid ban, but still a bit of a rough hero as they take the Viper.
Yeah, and trying to think of opportunities where DogChamp have run it in kind of weird positions before. Of course, the Mars could end up going to the mid lane and they could still run it as a 3, but really have not seen Vipers in too many other positions aside from the 3. I think the few times we've seen it force mid, it's just a complete blowout because it's that good of a matchup. And typically, I think the offlane is where that hero really stands. But that's also where DogChamp, they want to, depending on how Bloody Nine's feeling, do we see the Bane for the third game here? We might, because I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So it certainly would not give them the most lockdown, but it would give them something to play with the Storm Spirit. Not to mention, Io Bane is a classic combo just because you sit on that bottom lane by yourself for 1 or 2 minutes. You see a hero show up by themselves, you relocate, you get the grip down, and then that's usually a dead hero.
And, well, speaking of sort of the mid lane a little bit here, there is something that we should point out real quick while we wait for those next round of picks. DogChamp are coming into this series with a slightly different lineup than the one that we just saw from them against Mystery Machine. The only change over is that they will have Fade playing for them instead of Ryoya, who was there for those first 2 games. So the rest of the lineup is the same as what you saw before, but there is a bit of a change up in that mid position. Of course, Fade and Ryoya, a little bit of overlap in terms of their pools there, and I don't think DogChamp are going to sort of swing things massively one way or the other based on who they've got in, but it is worth pointing out that they have their mid lane in slightly different hands for this series.
I mean, did Ryoya get an Invoker Respect ban? I don't know. I don't know. Of course, I'm kidding, but at the same time, I really curious to see why DogChamp are spending this much time on what should just be very simply their 5 pick. Feel like deliberating this as much time as they are. I feel as if they are possibly looking for a slam carry pick. I kind of hazard to say here because this really should be pretty cut and dry for B9. I feel like there's a lot of thinking going on for
Oh,
okay, just a Mirana pickup, but that does swap their lanes a little bit. It doesn't mean that it's going to be an Io Mars lane. It's going to be the Mirana Mars lane, which is certainly strong. And we've seen the Mirana versus Pugna, I think, a few times now. It's very easy for the Pugna to just simply stop the life drain and walk out, but the more heroes that are going to be standing still in a team fight, always going to heavily favor that Mirana. But still, a lot of time. I'm really wondering what they're thinking for their final pick in this phase here. There's got to be something up DogChamp's sleeve.
yeah. I mean, the fact that they go for Mars Mirana, something that, as we said, has more aggressive potential, to me at least implies that they could be looking for a more up tempo style with their final 2 core pickups. So that'll be the call from them. Not 100% sure where they would really want to go with that, but in fairness to them, the pool for at least the carry position has been almost entirely untouched. I mean, you do have CK and Templar Assassin who are banned out, who sometimes drift into that role, but other than that, it's kind of wide open. So Be interesting to see what they look to run with Stonebank. I mean, they just came off of the Ursa game the last time around, so got their options open. Hokori, meanwhile, are going to get their hands on the Tusk, their next pick into the first Wraith King of the day.
Yeah, and well, talk about Yuma and Hikori. You know, you really talk about three heroes, or at least I think of three heroes. You think of his Magnus, you think of his TA, and you kind of think of his Wraith King. And I think it's a really easy pick for them. So I'm played this so many times with D2 Hustlers, just being that safe laner who also inherently builds a Blink Dagger, is willing to get in there early, get down and dirty. And that's where DogChamp, in picking up the Rana and the IO, very low damage. It's the type of game where if you are blowing that arena onto a Wraith King, you better hope it's second life, otherwise it's a little bit risky here.
Oh,
But that's the immediate AM in AM versus Storm, Pugna, and Wraith. Now, last time we saw the AM versus Wraith King, not so pretty, but I think that's where it is a little bit more set up now. With the Tusk, it's a little bit scary because that is a lot of physical damage that Hikori can put out onto you. But, well, now the name of the game for DogChamp is going to be make time, make space. Unfortunately, IO anti-mage, if that is what their bottom lane is going to be, it certainly is stable for the anti-mage, but that's not your combo, that's not your accelerator. IO's not going to be
right.
buffing up a Medusa or a Sven, make him farm any faster. The same is going to be a slow go-abouts.
Yeah, I mean, Overcharge is going to be useful, more useful than not having it, I suppose. But as you said, that's not really a great combination, which means DogChamp will maybe look for more of a matchup with whatever their mid option is going to be here. We saw from Infinity earlier today, they sort of paired up the IO with the EP Leshrac, so DogChamp could look for something maybe in that vein. I don't know if it's going to be the Leshrac itself, but maybe shift the IO a little bit away from the anti-mage who doesn't really want to have the IO just sort of trailing behind him all.
Yeah, it's where the IO kind of needs a friend, someone to attach to in that mid game. Really does feel like a lot of those heroes are kind of taken out here. The Lesh is not a bad option, but it's also you're playing Lesh versus Pugna. A lot of your damage is getting reduced because of that Nether Ward. Pushing onto these towers is kind of scary, in all honesty. And it's also the type of game where the IO is the only save at this point. So a Leshrac out and in front and almost baiting for the Mars's initiation I could almost see him just immediately getting killed off because the Tusk Storm Spirit Pugna jump is kind of brutal. And again, playing versus an active carry like the Wraith King, I feel like any core that's going to be out and in front is going to be very vulnerable here. But that's also where I think Hikori in banning off these offlaners, I feel like it's going to be a Mars mid, which is an interesting choice because you are throwing away your Mars Mirana lane just a little bit there, as those heroes really do complement each other. But at the same time, also see the Pit Lord mid every once in a while. We haven't seen it yet in this tournament, but I know so many people love that hero, except for yesterday, where you could just automatically win for the 10 minutes where Firestorm killed anything and everything it touched. But that's where Hikori, I think, though, they want an offlaner. They want something comfy for Vitaly. Anything that's going to make this anti-mage cry. He's got a Tusk, so he could also afford to be a ranged hero. I don't want to throw out, like, the Vitaly Venomancer because I feel like every time we've seen him play Venomancer, especially in previous BTS Pro Series, not the hottest choice. Veno's also gotten zero love in any of the Dota patches, spread across those tournaments. But I do feel like they want someone who's going to be obnoxious, who's going to give them vision for the jump. Because right now they do need a hero that's going to go in and kind of give them a free time for both the Storm Spirit and the Wraith King to finish off the actual kills.
Now we'll see what they look for here. That offlane pool did get sort of chunked down a little bit, but I'm also thinking there's a world. Well, okay, never mind. We'll see. Whoa. That's not exactly what I had in mind. I was thinking there was the off chance that they swing Vitaly onto the Tusk at the 3 and then take a more aggressive, or another aggressive 4. But instead, it'll be the Visage, which we have seen twice now, AT, over the course of the first two phases. Neither time has that Visage been overly impressive, let's say. So Hokori will take their crack at it now. You might as well. Everyone's going to try it in some sort of position. We saw it once at the 4, once in the carry position, I think it was last time. So maybe now they'll try Visage at the 3. I don't really know what this hero does still to make it that effective, but we'll see if Hokori have cracked that code.
And
Okay.
there you go. Very scary Lesh game. If I'm Fade here, you need to be so careful about getting blown up in the beginning of these team fights. And I think back to the Visage, third time in a row, we're also seeing the Visage paired with the Pugna. It's got to be something with the Decrep. It's got to be something where you do have that incredible nuke damage. And I think something to Hokori's testament here, you are picking the Visage into a very weak lane on DogChamp's side. The Anti-Mage is very inactive. It's slow start. It's where Amisha is definitely going to be able to body the lane a little bit more. This is the third different position we've seen this Visage go into as well. So maybe as an offlaner, it's a little bit more nifty. But this is also we're getting to see the Visage versus the Io again, which I think is another reason why we see it here. Just having the birds to go down, sit on top of that relocate. It's very obnoxious to actually get into that fight when you just going through the tiny portal. You have the birds to meet you there. It's very difficult to actually team fight and conduct a clean team fight when there is that extra vision. And that's also another aspect of the Visage. It's giving you vision for Yuma, for Analog, looking in at those back lines. I just hope that DogChamp can buy enough time with, again, their 4 core, because we are in that very similar 4 protect 1 strategy where the name of the game is make successful plays with your arena until Stonebake can kind of carry us and finish this game out for us.
See if they can buy that time, and we'll see if third time's the charm for the Visage. Right? Like you said, maybe it's the offlane version of the hero that finally makes something happen, but just full of cautious optimism here, because that is the number one thing you don't want to see. You don't want to see teams continuously pick a hero that just is not working. So for Hokori's sake, I hope Vitali's sort of got overall strategy locked down here, as we are not quite getting things started just yet, because Vitali did just DC. Yuma's going to be dropping out for a moment as well. So hopefully just a quick moment while we get them back in, and well, I don't know. Speaking to that Visage again, as you sort of mentioned, I mean, we know the potential positives, right? But it feels like to me, this Visage is another hero that's just going to have to just win early, right? That lane has to go exceptionally well for Vitali, and then maybe we can see what he builds from there. But if he's playing from behind, I don't know how much farming priority he gets with a Storm and a Wraith King also on his team.
Yeah, and really, I think the build up that we've seen from Visages thus far has also been, hazard to say, a little bit scatterbrained. It's where the hero, I don't really know what you build, because as the hero has gotten changed and moved around, it really feels like there isn't that incredibly strong power spike. Of course, for a while, you would rush the Solar Crest because Solar Crest was broken, and then you would get an Orchid Rush whenever it was shifted over to the mid lane, and then you would be kind of your soft solution versus heroes like the Void Spirit, and then nobody picked Visage, and now we're seeing it for the third time here, and what feels like a pretty well set up game here, as Speed does get hit up a little bit here, but the Rebuke barely able to walk away. But there you go. Soul Assumption is a very scary spell. Let's just see if he's actually able to use it, because that is also a very expensive spell. 125 at level 1 is not the nicest. Usually why we see the Grave Chill come out instead, but that's where that much damage trade onto the Mars, you'll certainly take that, even though Speed does get to just walk all the way back to the well.
Yeah, and maybe that's the trick with Visage in the position 3 role. When he was at the 4, he didn't really have the farm to get any items to help him out. When he was at the 1, he wasn't really the first into the fight, so he wasn't always getting the Soul Assumption sort of stacks up there to do its maximum damage. Whereas Vitali as a 3 hero is really going to be right there in the middle of it, so that Soul Assumption can maybe be a little bit more consistent in terms of actually doing damage for this hero.
Yeah, and of course, now you talk about items like the Boots of Bearing, you talk about the Ags build. I just want to see a Visage succeed, to be honest, because I want to see what happens when you get everything that you actually want. I just haven't seen that timing-based hero just yet here, and even when he gets level 6, I also don't see him kind of stomping across the map here, but that's where versus the Anti-Mage, at the very least, this is a very lackluster lane. He really shouldn't get all too shut out.
See, what El Misho does here. You got a couple of heroes that aren't going to be easy to keep locked down, but Jesus, look at that. Just right off the bat, they are going to go right at him, and Stonebake actually, he didn't have Blink. He went for Mana Break at 1, which is not all that strange, but didn't really show enough respect to it, and, we are 1 minute into the game, ET, and this Visage is already looking better than the previous two that we saw.
Yeah, it's just your casual, 250 damage nuke at level 1, traded out with tag team, and Almisha was even, I want to say, hiding his boots before, but it just works. And yeah, definitely a punish on Stonebank there. I think he gets the mana break because it certainly helps you go for those range creeps a lot easier, but he didn't even get the deny. Hasn't been able to trade on to Vitaly all too easily either, and now Vitaly's got a Ring of Bassi coming out too,
Oh,
and the
they've
level
got him
2.
again. Boy, oh boy, is this the perfect Visage game. We called it from the start, ET. We knew that they had the secret. Uh, I mean, okay, it's 2 kills in the early stages. Let's not put the medal around Vitaly's neck just yet. But this is what you want from this hero now. This is what we were sort of waiting to see in those previous 2 games. Where is your aggression? Where are your opportunities? So far, Vitaly's 2 for 2, and Elmisho, yeah, there's nothing he can do here. He has really no mana, but he's just trying to protect those runes. His analog gets 1, and they might actually just find the kill here. Elmisho may not have any spells, but he's able to just sort of come in as the trailer. He just needs to hit maybe 1 time. Nope, analog does it himself. So 3 quick kills on the board here for Hokori, and they are really setting a solid pace. Analog is now able to rotate up and get that second water rune, and this is just terrible. In terms of the start for the Leshrac, you were already going to have to deal with the Storm farming, but now he's got even more of an edge.
Yeah, and Elmisha, steals some XP. He's there just in case, but the soul kill did eventually happen for Analog. But it's where up until that point, though, Fade was rocking the lane. He got 2 points up in Split Earth. He was forcing the Storm Spirit to tank a lot of those creep waves. That's why Analog actually has a salve in his inventory, because Analog was not winning this lane. And then that happens, and then, well, you suddenly are.
Time.
You should apologize.
Yaren taking a little bit of aggression there down in the bottom lane, but should be okay. The problem is, it's not really going to slow down Yuma all too much on this Wraith King, and that is going to be a concern. I want to see how quickly this duo tries to get into the rhythm of making these aggressive plays, because they have that sort of tried and true setup, but they're going to have to connect pretty consistently. Speaking of connecting, though, up in the top lane, Bloody 9,
Bye-bye.
he's going to get jumped in on. There's a soul assumption. You can run all you want, but you're not disjointing that one. Vitaly on a killing spree 3.5 minutes in, and God, this lane is just not fun if you're DogChamp.
No, it's certainly a struggle. I mean, Stonebank already was going to have to deal with the Gravechill harass, as everyone who lanes versus Visage inevitably has to deal with, but I think the larger issue is El Misho just has such a free and wide open avenue to play around. He's just bouncing between mid and top and the small camp. He's just able to do kind of whatever he wants here. I think B9 was even just hovering in the well, just seeing if he needed to refill up Fade's bottle, but at the very least, he does have a water rune to play around, but that's where Stonebank, he's just getting right click down. Doesn't have Ring of Health. Needs to be a little bit scared here because at any moment, if he tries to blink back, Almisho's there with the shards. But in the meantime, he's just getting clobbered.
It's just a casual, we're going to walk in, we're going to right click you a bit, not even having to use any spells. Forces out the salve, so it's just, this straight sucks for Stonebank. There's no sugarcoating it. It's just not a great lane for him so far, but if he can avoid any further deaths, he's got the point in the blink. He's going to have to be so conservative with it. You're not going to be able to blink around to try and find some last hits, but I mean, the alternative is dying for a 3rd time in the laning stage, so you will take that trade-off. But now Fade in some trouble, getting hit up mid. They get the shards into the tag team, into the Vortex, and Fade's not making this easy for them, and he's just going to walk away. So, well, it's a nice attempt from Elmisho, and he hits level 4 too late there. He does get the point up in the snowball, but he needed it really at the start of the fight.
At the same time, I think it's a little bit awkward because Analog is barely level 6. I think if he has that, then maybe he's willing to commit all of his mana and then actually give the lane over to Almisho while he resets himself. So it's a little bit of a whiffed play, very easily whiffed play as well, but it's where there's always this nice option of just coming back top and bullying Stonebank. An AM who is also not really getting that stabilization item all too quickly here. He hasn't greeted out for the Ring of Health as we saw Double King do before. He's gone for a Wraith Band instead, which also means he doesn't really have the treads either. So when it comes to trading, when it comes to kind of just surviving here, he isn't really the best at either.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate the way that the lanes really sort of played out for him as Analog. Level 6. Invis rune picked up, and they could look to make something happen. Up in the top lane, though, well, Vitaly was left alone. Wow. With the Tusk TPing away, Stonebank says it is finally my time for revenge. B9's able to hit him up with the overcharge, so well, that is one of the issues with the Visage. He was very, very strong when he was on the offensive. When he has to defend himself with no backup, it's not a great situation for him with only the 1 point up in the cloak. So Stonebank's able to salvage something for himself, and now this rotation from the Storm doesn't really turn into much of anything. He's actually just kind of here to steal jungle camps while they send Gardic over to soak up some experience mid. So no kill potential, but this is still some pretty efficient play out from the Hokori side. B9. Yeah, he's going to be able to get away. The snowball doesn't connect. They do get a nice play with the shards, though, so they still find their kill, and now Stonebank is just going to have to blink away. Analog's trying to regen up some mana, but I don't know if he wants to keep that dive going. They're going to back themselves off just as Fade rotates in, so this could turn into a larger fight. Elmisho is trying to sort of dance around right now. He needs to pop the mango to maybe get the snowball play, or he could just try and walk out of here, which, yeah, that's not going to work, as Stonebank eventually just has enough of this and blinks in for it. So Misho gets taken down, but they're able to trade him out for the kill onto Bloody 9, and we've got another pause.
You should apologize.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an awkward timing, I think, for both sides there. I think it's a little bit strange that you end up losing the IO in B9 because all of that Storm's rotation was completely scouted out by this Observer Ward placed by B9 himself. So I felt like for a while there, kind of testing the waters, and for a while there, felt pretty bad for Hokori. Analog spent a whole bunch of time doing nothing, all for a kill to get split 3 ways. Doesn't even get the kill, I don't think, and then is now going to have to kind of walk back to the mid lane. It's a little bit strange. A lot of wasted time here, and a lot of time, actually, that Yaren was taking over the mid lane. He's almost level 5 himself, and we'll see if there's going to be another play top here, because Gardic wants to get the D ward, but it's also where he's waiting for his courier right now.
And be a little bit careful at this point. It feels like most of these heroes have backed away, but you are still a Pugna, and you are very much killable in a short span of time. But looks like he should be okay. We'll see if he actually does get that D ward down with the sentry. Not going for it just yet. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, there's a play being made onto speed there. Yuma gets pushed back by the spear, but Elmisho was able to get the snowball in time, so he stays right on top of the Mars.
Oh.
That's very awkward. As speed does go down, but elsewhere on the map, Yaren able to find a kill onto Analog mid. So they take down the Storm. The loss of the Mars is going to sting a little bit less because of that trade-off.
Yeah, he bottled a DD. He popped the DD. I'm assuming that he just got clipped by a lone arrow from Yaren, probably walking away from the rune. Just nice nighttime vision placed out by DogChamp, but this game is getting a little bit peculiar. It's getting a little bit odd. At least Vitaly hits level 6 back up top, so he does have those birds to play around with, and it looks like the choice for Vitaly will be a Vlad's, which is, again, different. Every Visage has done something different than the others, but at the same time, feel like this is a good option for him. Gives him a little bit more damage, a little bit more mana regen, very naturally builds up from the Basilius, an item that you pretty much always want to have on that hero. Same time, though, it doesn't really help you against the Leshrac at all when it comes to Fade actually killing off your birds, but okay, this is an awkward fight.
Yeah, that arrow's going to miss. That means they can get straight onto Bloody 9. They'll hit him up with the tag team. He's able to jump away to Fade, though, but look at the Familiars. Still trying to get in there for the damage now. The Zip's going to come through from Analog. They get this Electric Vortex down onto B9. That is the first kill, maybe the most important one, because without the IO, the rest of DogChamp are a little hesitant to push forward. Yaren, though, no such hesitance. Look at him go. He's just going to make his way over. Protected by his invis for now, but it's once the ult wears off, just got to make sure he wasn't too close to anybody. As Elmisho, nifty play there, but now I say he needs to get out. He could just TP now, and I don't know if Fade would reach him in time. But Elmisho doesn't want to give up. He's looking to maybe make 1 or 2 more disruptive plays, maybe even head mid, but it would be him and Analog against 3 in this current configuration, so instead he'll just try and scout out the rune. Yaren's here for the exact same purpose. Yaren is forced to take the arcane rune, and might get this kill. He needs to hit the arrow. Elmisho, once again, shards in the exact same spot on that ramp, and I don't know if he gets out this time. Last time, everyone just sort of gave up on the chase, but Yarn really does look like he wants to keep going. He'll leap onto the high ground. That Starstorm was not ideal. And I cannot believe that this has gone on this long. El Misho is now going to turn around with the snowball, but Stonebank's
Right into
here.
Stone Bank.
What the hell are you doing over here, Yarn? Just kill him and be done with it. But, you know, he's got the Mana Void. Yarn obviously doesn't, so it's much easier said than done. But they'll find the kill. Now, though, Fade's in trouble. B9 has no relocate, so Fade just going to have to hold his ground. Does a decent job of it, but not actually enough to swing a trade in his favor. Vitaly gets the kill. And now Bloody Nine just doesn't really have anything to do. I guess he could... Actually, he can't even stack camps. He sort of missed that timing. So it's kind of drifting in no man's land right now for the IO. Got the tome brought out to him, though, so that solves the relocate problem. Next time around, he should be able to save his teammate.
It's really funny just watching this Pug to Storm, even to this day. Just seeing a Storm never have to go back to the base ever because, hey, you're full HP, you're full mana. Why would you go back to the base? You just get to unlimitedly play Storm Spirit. It's great. Great stuff. Great game.
That's just got to be a great feeling, right? If you're Gardic, you're just basically, you're looking at your Storm, you say, you stop playing Storm when I say so. Really, that's it. Don't go back to base. Don't need anything brought out to you. I just life drain the crap out of you for the first 20 minutes of a game and get to be Storm Spirit for free. So, working out pretty well for Hokori so far, and now... Misho... I don't really know if he actually had the vision on Stonebank there. As the relocate's coming in, they're going to look to force the fight. Yuma is, at least for now, staying in front of him, but there's going to be the arena. May have to pop the reincarnation. The problem is, yeah, put the point in it, you don't have any mana. Mana burn is pretty devastating at this point as Yuma gets taken down, and now Vitaly's caught on the other side of the map. The Centaur stun is going to kind of put him in, yeah, just a really undefendable position. Speed picks up the double kill. And do they get the birds? No, they don't, but honestly, the kills are still going to be pretty valuable for them. And now, Speed's going to TP mid. He is everywhere across all the lanes. This time, though, maybe a bit of an overextension. Walrus Punch is going to lock him down. Analog is taking a lot of damage, though, but still able to find the kill. Now they want more. Yarn's in trouble, but B9 able to zip in with the tether, providing that little bit of extra regen, and that'll bring the fight to an end. But Speed, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but that last play was maybe trying to do a bit too much.
Yeah, it's sad as well. Kind of just want to finish your Blink Dagger, but yet again, another incredibly farmed Mars dude just has his Blink Dagger around the sub 15-minute mark. And haven't seen that in quite a while, you know. I think it's the second or third time today, though, where everybody playing Mars is just kind of firing on all cylinders. Kind of need to see that from them, you know. They are on arguably the best offlaner when everything's already banned out. That's why we already saw it banned out quite heavily before, but I think that's where DogChamp probably just chill for a little bit, wait for this blink on Speed, then make a smoke, probably claim some of these outer towers. Fade really needs to get some of that gold going into his own pocket. He's really been at the forefront of a lot of these fights, been dying in certain situations, but it's also where he's got a friend in B9. B9 should be able to get him out of any sticky situation. But Yaren, yeah, he can't push. He's getting forced off this tower pretty easily by just the Visage being there himself.
Visage got himself those drums, so Boots of Bearing still looking like an option for him after he picked up the Vlads. Meanwhile, in the river, Analog stole an Invis Rune. Nifty play, gets it out from under Speed, but well, now what is he gonna really try to do with this? Could use that Invis Rune to try and make some sort of gank play happen, but with the way that DogChamp have been sort of sticking together recently, I'm not sure if he's going to have an opening.
Yeah, I feel like right now, especially with Speed's Blink Dagger coming out, very easily could see a smoke from B9, or even better, relocate. Yeah, they're just going to claim this bottom tower with it, which is interesting. They have no idea that Hokori are not set up at all, but with the TPN, oh, if they kill B9 early, oh, this could get really awkward.
Gotta get that kill. The relocate is timing down. They will take him out. And now, Fade, you are straight up stuck. He is straight up dead. Double kill for Analog, and Yarn was standing under a sentry ward as well, so they know he's still here. El Misho tries to sort of get a cutoff angle. Instead, takes a spear and an arrow to the face, and he'll be taken down. So that's a bit unfortunate for the trailer on that play, but if you're El Misho, it's whatever. You trade yourself out for Leshrac as well as the Bloody 9 IO, and the tower does still end up going down in the bottom lane, so that is a little bit of a bummer, but at least they were able to extract a pretty heavy toll for it.
Yeah, it just it's a really sad timing. I don't understand why you go for the relocate when you have a Mars with the Blink Dagger, raring to go, speeds in the mid lane. He wants you to smoke him out into the enemy jungle. And they would have collided with the core most likely if they went up to that high ground. It's just them making what I feel like is a very low risk play and then getting punished for it regardless. It's very unfortunate. But hey, I think this is the first time we've seen this NMH picked up where he is the top of the net worth. He's shown on the other side of the map. There is still being a lot of space bought by these other heroes on the DogChamp side.
Mm-hmm. He's got his Battle Fury. He's just sort of chilling. Those first couple of deaths in the laning stage have been sort of put in the rear view mirror for him, so has been able to stabilize, and we have not seen any significant aggression from Hokori since those first couple of deaths in the first minute, so things going okay as both sides are ready to go. So we are back into the action, and we'll see who makes the first move. Is it going to be Analog looking for another play, or will Speed find initiation with that Blink Dagger? Looks like Blink's not really a secret anymore. Talia should be able to spot him out there, so they'll know he has it. It's just going to be a matter of whether Speed can get the jump or not.
Yeah, and I think right back bottom, they could just look for the play again. They really want to show Speed on a creep wave and then get him somewhere else on the map, somewhere where they're not going to expect, especially if they can find their way onto Analog. But okay, this is the Yules, very farmed, but yeah, has to run away. It's where the Visage Bird's kind of surging ahead. You really need to be kind of scared of them at this stage, but it's a little bit awkward if Hokori get onto this mid-tier 1. The easy way for DogChamp to get onto them isn't really there right now. They're more or less playing around their defensive vision instead, but Analog actually popped his Arcane. I feel like Hokori kind of want to make a play pretty soon here. Oh, if they kill Speed Bottom, don't let
All
it
by
happen.
himself, can't blink away. There's the Vortex to pull him in. The birds are coming over, looking for the stuns. And, yep, they're going to find it. Garda kind of sneaks in the kill there between Vitalia and Analog. You would have probably preferred to have that on one of your core heroes, but either way, big pickoff. Speed just got the Blink Dagger, but wasn't able to use it to sort of set an aggressive precedent here for DogChamp. And now, speaking of aggression, El Misho, this man trying to be sneaky, out in the tree line. The problem is his teammates have to push this wave a little bit further forward for them to actually have a shot at this. But now the creep wave is up to the tower, so they're going to go for it. There's Fade getting jumped in on, but it's just a fake out. They want Bloody 9 instead. They take the IO away. The relocate is gone. Speed, though, was able to get himself in there with a TP, but the arena's there. The spear is not. Not able to really connect with that. El Misho is going to have to just try and walk away, but with Yarn getting that far forward, they're just going to quickly turn around. The Soul Assumption nets him a kill. And Stonebank, do you really want to... Well, he's going to get in there. Goes for the Mana Void. Not enough for the kill. And now, with the Mana Void gone, Analog says it's my time. Pushes in. Stonebank taken down. That was the wrong call. Now DogChamp are just looking to get anyone out of here that they still can. But Speed, well, he is getting tracked down. He'll buy some time with the Rebuke. Vitaly, though, continues to chase. Yuma comes in, looking for the stun. B9, though, has respawned. He's able to get back in. Tether on Speed is going to start healing him up. Do they really want to keep this fight going, though? They got the Yules onto the Storm Spirit, but at this point, it really doesn't feel like they're able to fully commit for a second round of fighting, especially if this Tier 1 tower does end up going down. Probably will after this glyph wears off. Yeah, Vitaly's familiars get the job done.
Yeah, Gardic, he was really the ideal Mana Void hero there, but I think Elmisha just ends up biting it because Stonebank was looking for any hero, but it's just a little bit too much time spent. This is a nice play, though. Does he? Okay.
Oof.
Still dies. Really sick relocate, really sick small play on the ward there. Had to lead in with the Yules, but they get it regardless. But back to bottom, I think they just stick around way too long in the fight. That's a fight that Stonebank showed up to, died, didn't really get any farming time afterwards. I think right now, DogChamp, they would love a pause. They would like a little bit of some of this farming time, especially because Stonebank's looking over at that Manta style. Then he can jump the backline. Then he can look for Gardic, especially if he sees the Decrepify used. Then you've got your bomb.
And yeah, that was just such a weird series of events. Stonebank fakes out the first Mana Void, then does eventually throw it onto a Tusk of all people who doesn't exactly have a large mana pool. And as we said at the time, the second that Mana Void gets thrown down, Analog's just going to zip in for all he's worth and try and find some kills as B9. Dead to the Soul Assumption just yet. Fade turns around for the stun to make sure the Familiars won't keep up the chase, and they are going to be okay, but I don't know, the nuke damage that Hokori have, Bloody Nine is just not going to be able to just sort of hang out. He's always going to have to be constantly moving so that he doesn't get caught out.
At the very least, the Wisp will most likely have the mech before the next big team fight happens. And the big benefit of DogChamp's lineup is they get to choose when the next big team fight happens, because unless Hokori have a rune in their Storm Spirit, there really isn't that easy jump. You do have the Blink Dagger on Yuma, so he can certainly start a little bit of a scuffle on his own, but it's where the arena is still the big team fight spell in this game. It's the biggest cooldown I think any team is going to be playing around right now, and I think that's where DogChip can really decide whether or not they want to fight and risk dying, or if they want to instead just split, look for this next batch of items, both the Manta and the BKB looking to be queued up by these heroes. I feel like that's where we might see them decide to play instead.
Meantime, Yuma's going to push out that middle lane, getting the skeleton summoned up, got the familiars in there for the damage, so once this glyph wears off, the tower should fall. It does reset the glyph for DogChamp, so really didn't lose much by throwing it out there, but now we're looking to push their way forward. Elmisho blinks forward, and he was close to Yarn, but I don't know if he actually saw him. In the meantime, though, we're going to go after Roshan here. This is not the greatest amount of armor reduction in the world, but they've got the life drain, they've got the tag team. They are going to get through this pretty damn quickly, and they give the Aegis over to the Wraith King. Always interesting to see when there's a Storm Spirit in the game, because there's very few instances where the Storm isn't the one taking that Aegis for himself. But if you're Yuma, you don't have your Shard yet, so you are still sort of at risk of getting caught out with no mana for reincarnation.
Yeah, and I think that is the big reason why. In addition to that, Analog has a BKB of his own, so in terms of defensive capabilities, Analog beats out his teammate just slightly. But Yuma having 3 lives to work with, that'll be its own big benefit, especially once he finishes this Deso. It's the big risk of where if DogChamp ever lose a team fight on their side of the map, you can certainly see them look to roll buildings, but they want a Yule start. They'd love to find Elmisho, and they will.
Onto the Tusk. They'll blow him up quickly. Analog pops the BKB, tries to push his way forward as Stonebank would be the target for them, but they're not able to lock him down. He blinks himself out, so now... well, now where do they actually go? They're trying to sort of hold the high ground here and regroup, but DogChamp are not all that afraid of them. They're going to push their way forward. Yarn gets the Yules. He's going to look for the arrow. The bird, though, is able to step in front of it, and now Yuma blinks in. Gets the stun onto speed. They'll slow him up with the Grave Chill, and they find that first kill, and they get in onto Bloody Nine as well. The Io just really stuck in an awkward spot there. I mean, if Speed lives for a little bit longer, maybe that makes more sense, but with the quick kill onto the Mars, you just have an Isle kind of out in the open.
Yeah, and it felt a little bit risky, especially from Gardic, who really just sat there, kept the life train going, trying to reset Analog as easily as he could, but it's also where, unfortunately, Bloody Nine tethers into a bird. He even cast a relocate. Everything just kind of fell apart with the bird stun. It's, again, another reason why I think we see this Visage here is just how obnoxious Vitali can actually be. And speaking of obnoxious, he has a full AC. This is a very tanky Visage that you have to tank out. Not to mention, the birds are even more obnoxious, and with the Deso finished up on Yuma, your buildings are really going to start getting pressured here from DogChamp. It's where I think we need to see these BKBs get finished up on both the Mars and the Leshrac. I think this team fight is getting a little bit past them here as Fade.
Oh, Fade. Yuma just got that little bit of vision onto him, blinks forward for the stun. Fade does not have buybacks, so this is going to get a little tough for DogChamp to hold the high ground. The glyph does have to be deployed, but by the time it's out, the tower already lost half health, and then once it ends, it's going to lose all of its health. Tier 3 gone. That should be a full lane of racks for them as well. Yuma just doing so much work with that Deso, and now Yaren. Very careful there, as he was very nearly spotted out, but even if Yaren doesn't get caught, the damage to the base is still staggering at this point. 23 minutes in, a full lane gone.
Yeah, it's racks for free as Stonebank tries to take the other side of the jungle, but yeah, Yuma is just gunning all the time, looking for openings. I mean, we already know he can't die. He's not going to die 3 times in a fight without the AM getting involved, and that's also where, unfortunately, Stonebank doesn't really want to get involved in this game just yet, but this is a huge timing for Hokori. With the glyph already committed, there's no real way for DogChamp to push you off aside from, well, killing you. It's where I think they've really hit their stride here, and unfortunately, DogChamp don't have anything to really return it. You love that Ag Shard, you love anything Arena, but
Okay. Get the play under the Visage, but look at that snowball. He's just waiting to see if he even needs to pull Vitali in, and he doesn't. They're just going to hold on. Bloody 9 taken down. Yarn did as well. Stonebank tries to sneak in on the back line, but he now has to blink away. He has no HP in the Storm. Just going to zip right after him. Looking for the kill. Stonebank actually reflects the Vortex. Nifty play, but it's all in the service of getting Stonebank out of the fight. He was not going to be able to contribute anything in terms of damage, and now back in the base, they're falling apart. Speed gets taken down. They were able to get through the Aegis on the Wraith King, but that's just not going to be enough as Fade gets zipped in on and taken down, and there's your GG. DogChamp just getting sort of punched in the mouth here in game 1.
yeah, I mean, yet again, we see this Wraith King versus Anti-Mage matchup play out, I think, exactly as we all expect, where the Wraith King is more useful, the Wraith King's raring to go, the Anti-Mage is still an item behind where he probably could make a team fight happen. I just feel like maybe we got to look at this anti-mage as less of an answer to the Wraith King and more of a liability. I feel like yet again we just see a very sad game play out where unfortunately in the way that DogChip have drafted themselves up here, they just don't have that many tools. They don't have really that many avenues to work on. And I think you could even talk about the earlier part of their draft when they decided to go for this IO instead of a hero like the Bane. You don't have that third tool. You don't have that setup, or rather the Mirana instead of the Bane because, well, you've got a Mirana. Now you need to bring speed to everything. The Mars is the only one who can set up on these side lanes. I really feel like DogChamp kind of turned the draft around and where all of the pressure was on the Mars and whether or not the Lesh would actually be able to take those towers out early. And certainly DogChamp were not able to find that snowball. They weren't able to find the space. Once Yuma got involved, they really didn't have any option to take those team fights. Again, kind of a sad loss.